Bannister Mall in South Kansas City was closed in 2007 and demolished in 2009. 4 years later, it remains a flattened, weed-filled lot. Now, the second largest mall in our metro when it was built, Metro North Mall, is barely hanging on for life. But developers are hoping to avoid Bannister Mall's fate. They have now proposed to demolish the mall on Northwest Barry Road, north of the river, and rebuild a brand new $200 million mall on the very same site. Now, why would they want to do that when the current mall isn't working?
Well, the demographics up there are terrific. I mean, the Northland is the fastest growing area in the community as far as homes being built and people moving there. It's even faster growing than southern Johnson County. The problem is the model of the old enclosed shopping center that I hate to date myself, that was so new and cool when I was a kid, is just not how shoppers want to do it. And also, Metro North got hammered when Zona Rosa opened up, which is the new cool thing, the open air.
Which is not that far away.
Which is not far, and they lured a lot of tenants away. And so the idea is we got the population base, we got the demographics, but we've got this obsolete Model T of a shopping complex. Let's bring a new version in, and I think the bodies and everything, and are there to support it.
So people don't like enclosed shopping centers anymore, Chris Keel?
Well, they don't necessarily dislike enclosed shopping centers, but they really want a destination. They want an IKEA. They want an REI. They want something that is unique and compelling and is actually entertainment in its own right. The challenge with a lot of the old-style malls is they expected people to come and shop. People don't go and shop now. It is entertainment. They want a Mall of the Americas experience from outside Minneapolis. They are wanting something that substitutes for going to the movies, going out and playing golf. It's supposed to be fun, and places like Metro North and Bannister weren't fun. The other big challenge we're going to have to deal with is that people shop on the internet much more aggressively than they used to. And a lot of those people that might have run to the mall in the past just to get a few items are like, why should I drive? I'll just order my underwear online.
Yeah, the other thing to keep in mind is when you hear a line like, we want to tear down the mall and put something in its place, we have some experience with that in the Kansas City area. And the first part is easy. They tore down the Mission Mall. They tore down the Bannister Mall. The second phase, building something in its place, has been much more problematic, and that may turn out to be the case here.
Now, I don't want to go through your personal life, Stacey, but you're not the kind of man who would order your underwear online. You like to go and support local retailers, don't you?
That's absolutely right. You know, my boxers would tell that story,
yes,
of course. And here comes the problem with the mall there. I think Chris is right. It has to be some type of destination. There is some type of entertainment. And the developers here are saying in the management company now that this isn't going to be your grandmother's mall. And so the real core problem with them right now is who's the second anchor tenant. We have Macy's up there now, but who are they going to bring in? You know, I could see maybe a Trader Joe's going up there, or maybe an REI, something like that. Something that shoppers in the north part of the city or downtown have to go clear to Johnson County for. That's going to be difficult. There's also some aspect of there's going to be some public financing that's going to need to go here. They're talking about some beautification issues, sidewalks, signage, other things, vegetation and stuff. And that's going to put the city once again on the hook. Some estimates are as high as $4 million to do that. So,
because this is still in the boundaries of Kansas City,
absolutely,
Missouri.
Yes. Absolutely. So Kansas City taxpayers are going to be once again on the hook for something new in Kansas City.
You know, again, and you brought this up with the crossroads. I mean, again, when you think tax incentives are not cash coming out of City Hall. Tax incentives are new value that's being created when something that is falling apart and is giving no productive value to the city gets reinvested in, and some of that gets plowed back into it. It's not a net loss. And the one other thing I was going to mention is the other store that I keep hearing that would be a great fit up there is Von Mauer.
But this city is
But there's already one of those at 135th.
Which is a long ways
But you don't put two of those in the same market. Let me just bring up another, because as we're talking about malls, let's turn our attention to Bannister Mall for a moment in South Kansas City. Demolished in 2009, as I mentioned. It's now just a flattened, weed-filled lot. It was the hoped-for site of Sporting Kansas City Stadium before they jumped the state line in Wyandotte County. What is the future for Bannister Mall? Is there an answer to that?
Well, you know, the buzz very much going on these days is Cerner owns a lot of that property. Cerner has hopes, I think, to develop an office campus as Cerner continues to grow. That's the latest that is floating around out there. The retail idea just flopped miserably, or else there would have been Sporting Kansas City Stadium there. And this gets back into what Chris says. You know, you've got to have a destination, which of course they'd hope to do with the stadium there, and you've also got to have demographics. The Northland has a growing demographic. The area around the Bannister Mall, unfortunately, has been in decline for quite some time, and it's just really hampered the ability, and we are, many people will say, oversaturated in this market when it comes to retail. So you really do have to invent a better mousetrap if you're going to get shoppers to show up to your place, or have a lot more bodies moving in.
And the big challenge is that we used to draw from about a 5-state area. We don't now. We have some serious competition in Wichita, Omaha, Des Moines. People don't necessarily have to come to Kansas City for those experiences now. And I think a lot of the developers are still living in that period where they assumed that they would draw from a 300 or 400 mile radius. They don't now.